And welcome to episode 109 of the Liberator podcast. Sam Riley, James Silberman, and Russell Hunter is out this week. He's busy preparing his talk for the Pro-Life is Not Enough conference, which, as of the airing of this, will be 2 days. Or no, it'll be tomorrow, as of the airing of this. Friday and Saturday down in Dallas, Texas. Go to prolifeisnotenough.com, I believe, is the website for that conference. It's going to be some really good speakers, and it's going to be tackling IVF, which is something a very under-addressed issue among the American church, and even recently among abolitionists. This is something we want to really get back in people's awareness, and just all of the evil that goes on around IVF. And so there's gonna be some really good talks. Callie, our friend Sierra Callie, will be debuting his new documentary on Saturday at the conference. So if you can be there, y'all should really be there.
I provided some shots for the documentary.
That's right, you did.
Yeah, probably didn't get used.
Yes, because it
probably wasn't good enough.
I think it was yours was capturing a couple who may or may not be included based on them needing to stay under the radar in their IVF journey. But yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah,
if you were part producer, part filmmaker.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get a credit or anything.
Callie, if you're listening, this man wants the credit.
No, I'm okay.
In any case, please be there if you can. That is tomorrow and Saturday. So if you're in Texas, for sure be there. So we've got an episode today addressing a very timely topic. If you've been following the headlines from any publications, news, TV, radio, otherwise, you would think abortion is illegal. If you're following any of the pro-life groups, right, you would think that abortion has been illegal. That's helpful for them in trying to raise support for what they're doing, to say, look, we're winning. We've achieved victory. Abortion's illegal in the state. Send us money so we can do it in other states or stuff like that. Yeah.
In Texas, according to the pro-abortion news media, all Texas women have been preemptively arrested for having a uterus. So,
yeah, have a uterus, straight to jail.
Yeah. But probably just as equally stupid and ridiculous is the pro-lifers who are saying that it has been abolished, or that, reports of like 54,000 babies being saved from the heartbeat bill, or that sort of thing. Not true. Not true.
And so before we get into the exact code of each of these states addressing abortion and the trigger law language that has gone into effect in these states, let's go through a quick conditional syllogism here, which is what we're going to kind of frame the rest of this episode around. If women are free to manage their own abortions under state law, and if self-managed abortions are easily accessible, then abortion is still a legally protected practice in a given state. Right? I think that all follows one from the other pretty undeniably. And so with that being so, let's look at Texas. Let's look at the language passed into Texas Code by House Bill 1280. It says, this chapter may not be construed to authorize the imposition of criminal, civil, or administrative liability or penalties on a pregnant female on whom an abortion is performed, induced, or attempted. Right? So we have complete legal immunity for the mother who is performing, inducing her abortion. Same thing in Louisiana. SB 342, which was passed this year, actually. SB 342 is what was passed instead of the abolition bill. There was an abolition bill in Louisiana. It made it further than any abolition bill before. And to kind of stunt the momentum, they didn't want to just straight vote the bill down. But what they did is they amended the bill to be a trigger bill. And then they supported a version of that trigger bill. Now, that trigger bill actually died because the author pulled it. But this is the same language as that trigger bill that was substituted in to the abolition bill after all the abolition bill language was struck. And so that bill, SB 342, said, this section shall not apply to the female who has an abortion. And nothing in this section may be construed to subject the pregnant woman upon whom an abortion is performed or attempted to any criminal conviction or penalty. Arkansas Act 180. This section does not, 1, authorize the charging or conviction of a woman with any criminal offense in the death of her own unborn child. And then there's additional exceptions here. Or 2, does not prohibit the sale, use, prescription, or administration of a contraceptive measure, drug, or chemical if the contraceptive measure, drug, or chemical is administered before the time when a pregnancy could be determined through conventional medical testing, and if the contraceptive measure, drug, or chemical is sold, used, prescribed, or administered in accordance with manufacturer instructions. Yeah. So not only is she free to perform her own abortion, there's also all these abortifacient drugs which are taken before conception occurs, before fertilization occurs, and can result in the death of a child, and those are still perfectly legal in Arkansas as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they call it a contraceptive measure, but really it isn't. It's not against conception. It is a abortifacient drug, essentially, that they're allowing here. But in all these that you're just reading off here, think about this for a second. If somebody, a rapist, if there's a law that specifically protected the man who is raping women, you would say that that's not the illegalization of rape. That's not abolishing rape or anything like that. This is the person who is paying for and commissioning the murder of her child. So they are exempting the primary actor in abortion. She's the one who is actually trying to make sure this happens. She's the one giving over money that it would happen. It's not the abortionist who's first and foremost seeking out women to abort their babies. They might advertise or something like that, but that's not what they're doing. They're not going down the street, knocking door to door, saying, hey, can I abort your baby? It's the mother coming to the abortionist, pregnant, and killing her baby by paying that abortionist. Yep. And that's the person that they are exempting specifically from criminal charges, who arguably is the person who needs criminal charges the most. They're the most culpable in these instances, or the parents in general, the mother and the father. They're the people who are commissioning the murder of their child, and both, of course, the abortionist and the parents deserve to be punished, but arguably it would be a harsher punishment against the people who actually commissioned the murder of their own child, one would think.
Yeah, abortionists are just people who are in business meeting a demand, right, in the market. And that demand is the mothers and the fathers who desire the murder of their own children, right? That is the demand that the abortionist is meeting. And so, yes, both are complicit in the murder, but we cannot, in any sense, if the mother is doing it of her own volition, right, if she's choosing to call up the Planned Parenthood, if she's choosing to drive to the Planned Parenthood, walk inside the doors, and sit on the table as her child is murdered inside of her, ripped out one piece at a time, ripped out of her womb, one piece at a time, we cannot say that she is immune from penalty. Now, of course, there is an exception for people who are coerced, right, under threat of physical harm, or that does happen on occasion, but that is not the ordinary circumstance for people who murder their own children. They are ordinarily can't say exactly what percentage, but the vast, overwhelming majority of them are mothers who are choosing of their own volition to murder their own children.
Yeah. And really all of this is just growing out of the, disgusting cancer that is incrementalism. You've got, for years, them making illegal means for killing your child. So you can't do it with forceps. You can't do it partial birth. There's a method. There's a method of how you can kill a child. Right. And this is getting rid of a method of killing your child. Having a contract killer kill your baby is no longer a method that the state endorses, and we're going to give it over to somebody else, a different actor. You can do it yourself. It's not at all going for the heart of it. It's not saying murder is an abomination before God. He hates the hands that shed innocent blood. He demands blood for blood. He demands that you be punished for the child that you kill, for the person that you kill. And so we're going to enact justice, and murder is going to be punished. That's not what they're aiming for. Their aim is to reduce abortion numbers. Their aim is to lower that or get rid of the freestanding abortion mills or anything like that. But it's not let's abolish abortion and enact justice in the land. If it was for justice, then it would be going after everyone involved, not just getting rid of means or methods to kill your baby.
And how that plays out in the language of a law is not that you would have to specify the abortionist shall receive this penalty, the mother shall receive this penalty, the father shall receive this penalty, the driver gets it. Right? That's not what it looks like in a law. You don't have to address any of that. All you have to say is that the laws that exist that prohibit murder apply also in defense and to provide justice for children inside the womb. That's what that looks like in practice, right? Providing the equal protection of the law to all people. And then how that plays out is exactly how it plays out in the murder of any other person, right? If you murder another person, yes, you are going to be charged with murder. If you pay someone to murder another person, yes, in most states, you also can be charged with the same charge of first-degree murder.
Yeah, Joe Exotic, still in prison. Wasn't even successful.
Right. Yeah, a little Oklahoma reference there.
Yeah.
Joe Exotic ran for governor against abolitionist Dan Fisher, who was actually in that documentary. If you watch the Tiger King on Netflix, Dan Fisher, I think his name at least is in there briefly. But yeah, in any case, again, how it would play out is exactly the same as it plays out in the murder of any other person. So yes, if the mother or father or whoever is complicit, then yes, they'll be charged. If they are not complicit, like they did it unwillingly or they did it unknowingly or something like that, then they have that defense to give in the court of law, or they have that defense to prosecution entirely. They can't be prosecuted up. They can't be charged, right? And so it would play out everything, every theoretical that's in your mind about, well, how would this abolition bill work in practice? Well, how do murder cases go now? How do murder prosecutions and investigations go now? That's how it would go if abortion is made murder, if equal protection is provided. And that's all we're asking for. So going down the list here, Mississippi, SB 2391. Any person except the pregnant woman who purposefully, knowingly, or recklessly performs or attempts to perform or induce an abortion in the state of Mississippi, except in the case where necessary for the preservation of the mother's life or where the pregnancy was caused by rape, upon conviction shall be punished by imprisonment in the custody of the Department of Corrections for not less than 1 year, nor more than 10 years. So again, any person except the pregnant woman.
Yeah.
So no pregnant woman can ever be charged in the death of her own unborn child. Interestingly, what's an interesting kind of thought experiment, a pregnant woman can be charged in the death of someone else's unborn child. So if a pregnant mother gets drunk and gets behind the wheel and kills another pregnant mother, and the unborn child of the other pregnant mother dies, then that is presumably double homicide in the state of Mississippi, right? It's the same legal schizophrenia that the pro-aborts are guilty of. But your own unborn child, Mississippi is explicitly giving the right to murder, right? Let's go back to the syllogism. If women are free to manage their own abortions and self-managed abortions are easily accessible, then abortion is still a perfectly legally practice in a given state, and that's what we have in Mississippi and all these states. Mississippi also is providing even more exceptions for rape, for life of the mother. It's probably worded way too loosely there.
Well, also, there's no way that this is the homicide code. 1 year, nor more than 10 years.
Right.
That is not the homicide code right there. Yeah. And it makes sense that Mississippi would do this because what they are doing is not treating the preborn as a person. Right. So they're not going to put them under the same laws as us. They're going to put them under some other lesser punishment. It's not going to be maybe it is a felony in this case, but it's not first degree murder. Yep. Second degree murder, whatever it would be.
Yeah, not even close.
Yeah.
So let's go to the trigger bill in Idaho. Nothing in this section.
And just to note, with these trigger bills, you would think the pro-lifers are writing their ideal laws, because the whole idea was behind these was, when the Supreme Court's not in the way, we're going to write whatever law we want, and this is the law we want. So when we read these trigger laws, I'm not going to be expecting or holding my breath for something better than these next year. It might just be like little things so they can say, oh, look, we passed this pro-life bill this year, but it's not going to be substantially better than this. They've been saying what their end goal is for a very long time.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, all these trigger bills were contingent on Roe being overturned. So you would think, like you said, this would be their ideal thing. This would be their end goal. If Roe's out of the way, here's what we want the law in our state to be, assuming we have complete control over our state law.
Yeah.
Right. So this is what they want. This is their desired end goal in these states is what we are reading you in this episode. So we'll read one more here. The trigger bill in Idaho. Nothing in this section shall be construed to subject a pregnant woman on whom any abortion is performed or attempted to any criminal conviction and penalty. So again, complete immunity for the mother who receives an abortion, who performs her own abortion, anything along those lines. She has the fundamental right to murder her child in the state of Idaho. Then also, again, like some of these others, there's more exceptions. It shall be an affirmative defense to prosecution that the woman has reported the act of rape or incest to a law enforcement agency and provided a copy of such report to the physician who is to perform the abortion, to the physician who is to murder the child. Right? So again, you can murder a child in the state of Idaho if you're murdering your own child, and you can murder a child in the state of Idaho if you're murdering a child conceived in rape. Again, this is after Roe. This is the end goal of the pro-life movement in Idaho. The best they could do was this, allowing murder in these cases. Now, there are trigger bills in other states like Tennessee, Missouri, North Dakota, Utah, Wyoming, and Oklahoma, and all of them read the same way. Right? All of them protect the mother. Right? All of them fit into our conditional syllogism at the beginning of this episode. All of them protect a woman's right to her own abortion. Every state in the union.
They're all pro-choice.
They're all pro-choice.
They're anti-method.
Yep. Yep. Anti a certain method of murdering your child, but still protecting abortion in every single state. So forget the headlines, forget what New York Times or AP or USA Today is saying, forget what the pro-life groups and the pro-choice groups are saying. Abortion is still a legally protected practice in all of these states, with possibly, I say possibly because we haven't confirmed this yet, and we're in the process of trying to confirm this, there's possibly one exception to that rule. And we're going to do future episodes once we have confirmation and we go through that whole process. But the one possible exception is the state of Oklahoma, where we are recording this podcast. It's a very complicated situation, so I'll explain it as best and as simply as I can. Since basically the beginning of the state of Oklahoma, there were two statutes on the books that basically made it a misdemeanor for a woman to perform her own abortion. So women could not perform their own abortions was the law in Oklahoma. Now, of course, it's not murder, it's not homicide, nothing close to that. I think the penalty is, I think it's like 6 months to a year, I believe is the penalty. But in any case.
Or you get tickled for a little while.
You get tickled, yeah, maybe even the tickle will be hard, so it maybe hurts a little bit,
Slap real hard on the wrist.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yep. So that was the law in Oklahoma since the beginning of Oklahoma's statehood. Now, there were two of them. There were two trigger bills passed by, here's what gets really complicated. There's two statutes, there's two trigger bills in Oklahoma. The first trigger bill that we had repealed both of those statutes, which made it a misdemeanor to perform your own abortion. So both of those statutes would have been repealed. But then another trigger bill came along. There was a trigger bill in 2021, and there was a trigger bill in 2022. And the 2022 trigger bill amended the 2021 trigger bill and took out the repeal of one of the two statutes, which made it a misdemeanor to perform your own abortion. So, all that to say, it appears as if there is still one of those two statutes on the books in Oklahoma, and that is State Code 63-1-733. And it says, no woman shall perform or induce an abortion upon herself except under the supervision of a duly licensed physician. Any physician who supervises a woman in performing or inducing an abortion upon herself shall fulfill all the requirements of this article which apply to a physician performing or inducing an abortion. Now, there's actually no penalty attached to the statute, but there's another code, I think in Title 21 of Oklahoma law, which says that if there's no penalty attached to a crime, then a simple misdemeanor is the penalty for that crime, which I think is up to 1 year in jail, a maximum of 1 year. And so this appears to still be on the books. So Oklahoma might be the one state where it's technically illegal. Now, do I expect our Attorney General to necessarily enforce this? Not really. But again, we're trying to confirm this with some legal people, with some politicians here in Oklahoma. We're working to get confirmation that this is the law. And of course, if this is the law, if this still is on the books, and even if it is enforced, it's not nearly enough, right? That's ridiculous that you can murder your own child by pills that you order online and receive a penalty of a maximum of 1 year, right? No, this is homicide, and this needs to be made homicide, and preborn children need to be treated the same in the criminal justice system as everyone else is treated. But there is something on the books which says you cannot perform your own abortions. Now, one thing we haven't touched on too much in this episode is part 2 of the conditional syllogism, and self-managed abortion is easily accessible. Is self-managed abortion easily accessible?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, it is. So we're not going to provide advertising to the organization that does this, but there is an organization, and probably multiple, that make it very, very easy. You just type in the URL and you order the pills, and they get shipped from a doctor who prescribes them, like in Germany, through a pharmacy, or like in India or Indonesia or something like that. And the pills go straight to your door, and you murder your own baby with that pill.
And it is nuts how many people they have working on this, like underground abortion.
Yep.
We've been searching around online for different like how to get abortion pills, and Maddie has gone on Reddit and basically just posted in a few boards, and then she's gotten multiple DMs with people giving her instructions on how to obtain an abortion. So it's not difficult. The person who's even mildly a little bit determined to kill their baby will be able to do it easily, which stops when you have criminal penalties and murder charges for anyone who assists, for anyone who's involved, for anyone who commissions the murder of their child. But you can't really stop it until then. It's going to continue to happen because the enforcement is a joke. It's just a joke. There's no real desire to punish and act justly. There's no desire to punish evildoers. There's no desire to punish murderers. It's just, well, the freestanding abortion clinics are down, so we did a good job. You should give us money.
Yep. And the interesting thing is to think about, it might even be easier to get abortions now than it was before. Before, you had to look up where the nearest clinic was. You had to call and make an appointment. You had to wait 2, 3, 4 weeks, however long to get the appointment. Then you had to walk into the clinic where there very well might be people out there trying to plead with you to not murder your own child. Mm-hmm. And you might have to go through that whole process. Now, anyone can go online and type, I need an abortion, and Google results, like the top 3 ads will all be like, here's how to order an abortion pill online to your door. Here's how to do it. 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 Just endless links. I mean, it is so easy. Anyone who wants an abortion can still get an abortion.
Sadly, even YouTube now, if you mention abortion, which we have in this episode, there's probably going to be an information link on there, which is probably going to provide you some kind of information about how to get one, which is crazy. Yeah. So, as far as big tech goes, they're all in for getting babies murdered, and shame on them. It's just despicable. But it is sadly very predictable because the pro-life movement did not seek real punishment. They did not seek good enforcement. They sought another way. Like, God hates every false way, and they sought a different way. There's one way that we should take, and that is to pursue criminal penalties for all who murder their babies, and we should call for the repentance of our nation, but that's not what they wanted to do. They wanted to do something else.
Right. And so the takeaway from this whole thing, yes, we are asserting abortion is still legal, still completely legal in every state except possibly Oklahoma. But even in Oklahoma, and of course in every other state, there remains lots and lots of work to be done. Mm-hmm. And again, the work that has to be done politically is basically the same work that there was to be done before Roe was overturned, while Roe was still being enforced and still being respected. And that work is the passage of a bill making preborn children equal under law, which would rightly make abortion homicide. Mm-hmm. Now, again, that doesn't mean that everyone who participates in an abortion in any way, every mother, every father, every driver, doesn't mean everyone gets first-degree murder charges. But what it means is that everyone has the possibility, if they knew what they were doing and they chose to do it, of getting first-degree murder charges. Mm-hmm. And if you take that away, if you say, no, this person or this person or this person involved in the murder is completely immune in the murder of children, guess what? You've still got protected murder, mm-hmm. right? And that's what we have in virtually every state, with maybe one exception. And we're not even certain yet. Yeah. We're not certain if it's going to be enforced. We're not even certain that it is actually the law, because there was a news story that was quoting an ACLU lawyer saying that this statute was repealed and self-managed abortion was legalized in Oklahoma by the trigger bill. So you had these statutes since the statehood, the beginning of Oklahoma as a state, which said you cannot perform your own abortion, which were repealed by the pro-life trigger bill. The pro-life trigger bill repealed at least one, maybe 2 of these statutes. And so again, we still have legal abortion, and mm-hmm. there's still lots of work to do for abolishing abortion. Mm-hmm. So keep working and keep supporting us.
That's right. And if you give us any amount, on a monthly basis, you get entered to win a drawing for a drawing, one of Russell's original pen and ink pieces of artwork.
Yep.
And you get 15% off in our store. And our store is going to be a lot more stuff is going to be up on there pretty soon.
About to be beefed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Russell's been working on a lot of new artwork, a lot of new designs that's going to be on T-shirts, drop cards, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So we're about to drop a lot of material, which means there's going to be a lot of new drawings. And so at the end of this month, we will be giving away one of Russell's original drawings. As Sam said, go to freethestates.org/donate, become a monthly donor to get your name in the bowl, and you might win Russell's original artwork. And I guess most of you know this. Most of you have probably listened to this show before, but for anyone who's new to the show, Russell is legit like world class. You know, I wouldn't say this if he was here because he'd be super uncomfortable, but he's a world class artist. He's making really good stuff. He drew, I guess this isn't that complex a design, but like the thing that you're wearing.
You didn't draw that. That's just a font.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably is just a font. So, but anyway, Russell, I think the back.
The back.
The back.
Yeah, he drew that.
The back's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, in any case, good stuff is coming to our store. The artwork used on the store products is given away on the show. So please become a monthly supporter. We could really use your help for all the things that we do, putting on conferences, rallies, this podcast, lots of other stuff, educational stuff. So please become a supporter.
Yeah. Kind of a short episode for you this week, but I think an important one that nonetheless. People need to understand abortion is not illegal, and the pro-lifers who are saying it are just working to, maybe inadvertently, but they are working to calm people down, to destroy zeal. Instead of getting people angry and active against abortion, they are just throwing water on it. So please share this episode. Please understand that abortion is not illegal, and we need to work to make it illegal. We need to abolish it. Thank you so much for joining in this week. We're going to be back next Thursday, with another episode. I think we're going to be filming with Brian Gunter.
From Louisiana.
Yep. And so I think that will be next week's episode, but I'm not sure. There might be something else that comes up in the week. So next episode. Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining us. This is the Liberator podcast, where we're committed to being as harsh as truth and as uncompromising as justice. We'll see you next week.